In this edition of Locked On Capitals, we break down draft day number 2. Then later in the show, we are going to talk about what are the Washington Capitals' big plans for Wednesday. And then later in the show, we are going to talk about the season that's coming ahead. What can we expect from this Washington Capitals team? We'll talk about all of that and more next on this edition of Locked On Capitals.
Locked On Capitals, your daily podcast on the Washington Capitals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, hello and welcome into this edition of Locked On Capitals. I'm so glad you decided to join me today. As always, this podcast is free and available on all the major platforms, and I want to thank you for making this your first listen or view of the day. Yes, this podcast is also available on video form, so head on over to YouTube and check that out. My name is Dan Holmi. You can find me on Twitter. It's at DanCaps218. You can find the show on Twitter. It's at Locked On Caps. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. So the biggest news to start off this show is Vitek Vanecek has been traded to the New Jersey Devils. And ultimately, the big thing, the reason they did that is so they could pick up another draft pick. And they, in fact, turned that into another really a great pickup on the draft. We'll talk about that later in the show. But just to start off here, the Washington Capitals have, in fact, traded Vitek Vanecek to the New Jersey Devils. And, this is making it quite an interesting situation for the Washington Capitals. As I talked about, it was slated to be Vitek Vanecek and Ilya Samsonov. It has been my contention that they were going to go with one of the two of those as the number 2 netminder. And then ultimately go out there and pick up that big name starting, that veteran netminder. But now that they've traded Vitek Vanecek away, the plot really thickens here, doesn't it? Because as we head closer and closer to Wednesday, July 13th, free agency, there are not a lot of candidates left out there for the Washington Capitals to pick up. I have heard rumors and I've had some inside information that the Washington Capitals are close to signing a deal with Darcy Kuemper. I guess that remains to be seen if that will in fact happen, but there have also been some other big name goalies that have been kind of attached to this organization, Jake Allen as well. We're going to talk about those players later in the show. But just to get going here, we're going to talk about Vitek Vanecek going. And, this is kind of one of those tough things. I ultimately knew that they were going to part with one of them. Just based on the fact that they didn't have enough money to pay both of them for one. And as it turns out, they had a master plan to flip him into a really great draft pick. Again, we'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. The Washington Capitals have traded goaltender Vitek Vanecek and the number 46 draft pick to the New Jersey Devils in exchange for 2 draft picks. Both sides announced Friday. Washington acquired New Jersey's number 37 and 72nd round pick in the 2022 NHL draft. The Capitals selected Vanecek, 26 years old, in the second round of the 2014 draft. In 2 seasons, he posted a 41, 22, and 10 record with a 2.68 goals against average and a .908 save percentage in 79 games. Vanecek heads into the Devils, who finished last season at 27, 46, and 9 and 7th in the Metro Division. The trade comes after shortly before day 2 of the draft kicks off. And that was the news that I had heard on Friday. And first of all, I was thinking, all along, I thought they were going to end up going with Ilya Samsonov, and in fact, they did. But now, like I say, this puts the Washington Capitals in an interesting situation. I really kind of hope that they have someone up their sleeve, because if the season was to start tomorrow, it would be Ilya Samsonov and Fucale or Phoenix Copley or Hunter Shepard. So I guess the Capitals have a short period of time to kind of come together and decide who are they going to sign for that veteran netminder, because I would sure Like to think that the Capitals aren't planning on going into next season with Samsonov, Foucault tandem. I just don't think that that is the right idea. We saw how the Washington Capitals did last season when they kind of went with an unproven commodity in the form of Vanecek and Samsonov. So I think the Capitals would be served well to swing for the fences and go out and get someone like a Darcy Kuemper or a Jake Allen, something like that, or a Gibson if they have to trade with Anaheim. Because I think that ultimately, if this Washington Capitals team wants to make it to the next level, they need that number one elite goaltender. They need a Braden Holtby from 2018 out there to really right this ship. Because the last two seasons, the Washington Capitals have seen inconsistency in the netminding department, and just giving credit where credit's due. This last season, the Vanecek Samsonov tandem got them to 100 points. But ultimately, the weakness was shown in the first round of the playoffs, where the Capitals were eliminated once again in the first round. And that's what I'm talking about. The Capitals need to go out there and swing for the fences and go after that big name netminder. Like I said, I've heard some information regarding the Darcy Kuemper coming to the Washington Capitals. Seems pretty likely, but I guess we will ultimately see on Wednesday. As we know, none of those things can be set in stone until Wednesday. But it is set up to be just a really interesting Wednesday, and I think that the Washington Capitals will be active. And I don't think it's just going to be in the netminding department. I think they're going to try to shore up the defense. As we know, on the left-hand side of the defense, there are some holes there, as I believe that Schultz probably played his last game with the Washington Capitals. And Lucas Johansson also recently signed a new deal. So you should expect to see him in the lineup as well. Of course, in the mix there is Alexiev. And I guess that's going to remain to be seen where he fits in. We know that he's going to be out 4 to 5 months after that shoulder surgery. So it is going to be an interesting time with the Washington Capitals for sure. We ultimately wish nothing but the best for Vitek Vanecek on the New Jersey Devils. But it's like I say, it is going to be an interesting time for the Capitals to see who ultimately they end up picking up. The Washington Capitals are in the hunt for a new netminder, and general manager Brian McClellan said he is exploring all avenues from the free agency to the trade market. And now, per reports, the search expands to Quebec. Per Sportsnet's Nick Algebra, the Capitals, along with the Toronto Maple Leafs, Edmonton Oilers, and other teams, have reached out to Montreal Canadiens regarding goaltender Jake Allen. The story in Washington Hockey Now. Montreal likes him a lot, so unsurprisingly, the price tag is high. He added, Allen is coming off a so-so season with the last place Canadiens going 9-20-4 with a .905 save percentage and a 3.30 goals against average. Before coming to Montreal in 2020, where he played 35 games or less over each of the last two seasons while posting a .906 save percentage overall. Allen was with the St. Louis Blues for 7 years. There he went 148, 94, and 26 with a .913 save percentage and a 2.50 goals against average. Rather, he has a .911 save percentage over the course of his 9-year career, along with a 168, 126, and 35 record and one Stanley Cup. And that is a netminder I guess I'm not really picturing on the Washington Capitals. I think that for me, what it comes down to is it comes down to a Darcy Kuemper, or it comes down to a John Gibson. But I do think that they need to go out and get that big name netminder out there. And some kind of upsetting and, a bit sad news, I guess, is that it's speculated out there that Braden Holtby played his last game possibly ever in the NHL. He's had some lingering lower body issues, so it's really hopeful that if he can come back, that maybe there's a remote chance that he could come to the Capitals. But all reports are pointing to the fact that he probably played his last game with the Stars and perhaps ever in the NHL. And it's just a bit surprising to me because for me, it doesn't seem like it was that long ago that he was an up and coming player for the Washington Capitals. I guess time flies ultimately, but I will always revere him as one of the best in the Capitals organization as far as the netminder is concerned. And I guess that's not saying anything, out of the ordinary there. But I think that Holtz should definitely probably have his jersey retired when it's all said and done. Because, if you think about just the really great moments, you think about the 2018 Stanley Cup, you think about the save, there's just so many great moments with Braden Holtby on this Washington Capitals team that I think that would be the only right thing to do. But, before we heard about this lingering injury and the rumors of him retiring, there were the talks between Braden Holtby coming back to the Washington Capitals was really starting to heat up a little bit. So it's just kind of unfortunate that Holtby can't come back and try to make one last run with his team. And maybe try to just get them over the top and get them in the right position, kind of in preparation for Fukale or Shepherd down the road. But alas, that does not seem like that is meant to be. All right, so after the break here, we are going to break down all the different players that the Washington Capitals drafted. Where do they fit in, and what is the grade? How did the Capitals stack up against other teams in the NHL? We'll talk about that. But first, our next partner has a product I use literally every day. I started taking Athletic Greens because I wanted more energy and wanted a supplement that actually tastes great. I wanted to see what the hype was about. Now I've been taking it for a couple months now, and it doesn't taste like it's super healthy. It has kind of a mild tropical taste I actually look forward to taking each morning. So what is this stuff? With one delicious scoop of Athletic Greens, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging, all the things. Now, I personally use it because I have young children at home, and I could use that extra boost of energy. So here's some facts. It's lifestyle friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free. It contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything, while still tasting great. Supports better sleep quality and recovery, supports mental clarity and alertness. It's the one thing with the best thing. Athletic Greens use the best products based on latest science and constant product iterations and third-party testing. So the importance of a multivitamin is that tons of people take some kind of multivitamin. It's important to choose one with high quality ingredients that your body will actually absorb. AG1 is a small micro habit with big benefits. It's the one thing you can do every single day to take care of yourself. Your subscription comes with a year's supply of vitamin D, which is so important to add in these winter months when we don't get much sunlight. It costs less than $3 a day. You're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than your cold brew habit. It's cheaper than getting all the different supplements yourself. You're investing in an all-in-one nutritional insurance. So to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NHL network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. All right, welcome back to this edition of Locked On Capitals. In this segment, we are going to go over the different draft picks that the Washington Capitals picked up. This was an article I saw in The Athletic, and they kind of just break down the different players they picked up, where they fit in this with this Washington Capitals team, if they think it was a good pick, and then I'll give you my thoughts on what I think of these different picks that the Washington Capitals picked up. The Capitals draft is complicated one to grade. I think Ryan Chesley is a good player and will help the Caps down the line. This all comes down to Ivan Miroshnichenko. If he recovers as a player and a person due to his health concerns and gets back to who he was a year ago, the Capitals could easily have one of the better draft classes. If not, it's hard to see too many NHL games from this group. So just to start off here, and you got to thank Joe B for this, as he kind of broke it down phonetically. So I'm going to try to attempt it. It is Ivan Miroshnichenko. He was the one that the Washington Capitals picked in the first round. And, there are some question marks about him, his health and that kind of thing. But when they talked to Jason Service, and the rest of the medical staff. They looked it over and they said that he is good to go. As far as everything that they know right now, he is fit and ready to play. He is a couple years away from playing with the Washington Capitals. In the presser with Brian McClellan, he had mentioned that he has 1 year left in Russia, so the Capitals are going to allow him to honor that. And I think that's good for him on doing that. And that will also give the Capitals some time to kind of gauge his recovery. Is he, in fact, going to be ready for the NHL? But I think that it was a really solid pickup for the Washington Capitals. As I talked with the guys from Locked On NHL, I think that he is kind of setting himself up to be an Alex Ovechkin 2.0. Both of them are Russian. They're both left wings and both like to score from the left circle. I think that, this is the Washington Capitals having their eyes on the future by signing Miro, as he goes by for short. And I think that before his cancer diagnosis, he was considered a top 10 candidate. And just from talking to different doctors, it has over an 80% curable rate. So the arrow is pointing up for Miro. And I think that he will ultimately fit in well with this Washington Capitals organization. I don't know if he's necessarily going to get thrust right into the big team on the NHL when he does transition back over from Russia. But I think that, I guess that's going to depend on what season he has next season in Russia. And maybe it is for the best that considering what's going on with Russian relations with the United States, especially when you hear the issues that, like Kaprizov and those guys have had about trying to come back over to the United States. So how they rank him here is his tier middle lineup player, skating average, puck skills average, hockey sense average, compete level average. His shot is high end. So, kind of what they've talked about with a lot of these Russian players, if you take a look at Alex Ovechkin and just a lot of the players that come over is that they are more offensive minded. If you take a look at Alex Ovechkin and like I talked about Kaprizov, some of the deficiencies, and Alex Ovechkin is a great hockey player, probably will be revered as the best of all time. If he's going to be the greatest goal scorer of all time, to be sure. But if you're going to pick apart, or if you're going to take a look and pick one weakness of Alex Ovechkin, generally speaking, people talk about his defense, but his 50 plus goals scored every year kind of erases a lot of that away from me. But a lot of these young players, they don't have that luxury of just getting away based on who they are, having a deficiency as far as the defense is concerned. If you remember the Dale Hunter years, I know that Ovechkin and Hunter sometimes were sandpaper personalities, because if you remember Dale Hunter's how he was, his philosophy was a good defense is a good offense, and he wanted players laying in front of the puck. It was crazy times for the Washington Capitals. If you remember Dale Hunter after the Bruce Boudreau years, you'd have the likes of Alex Ovechkin and stuff just laying in front of slap shots. Those were some interesting times. They got the Washington Capitals to the playoffs, but ultimately, I'm glad that the Capitals have moved on from that kind of play. So the background on Miro is he played all season up versus men in Russia's second-tier league in a regular role before his season ended in January due to being diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. He scored 1 goal and 2 points at the U24 Nations in November. He was the captain and a leading player for Russia's U18 team when they won Helenka Gretzky Gold. He scored 6 goals and 8 points in 7 games at the U18 World Championships the previous season. He originally intended to play in Muskegon of the USHL instead of Russia. The last part 2 of the seasons, he ran into visa issues. So here's the analysis on him. Miro is a player with all the attributes you want in a top NHL winger. He's got good size and strength. He's a strong skater. He's highly skilled. He can make plays, and he's highly competitive. His shot is a bullet and can be a weapon from the flank on a pro level game. He can beat defenders with speed. He can get pucks through legs. He can create at evens and on power plays. He has a bulky frame, and he can play a powerful style game. He has the tools, the track record, and the projected top-line winger, but given his diagnosis, he has been placed in several tiers below due to the significant uncertainty in his future. But as far as Miro is concerned, I think that I think that he, as long as his health and everything improves, I think that he will fit into this Washington Capitals organization. just fine. So then the next pick on here, and this is why ultimately the Washington Capitals traded Vitek Vanecek away, was that they had a player that they hope was going to be available. And if they didn't trade Vitek Vanecek away, they probably would not have landed with this player. The next one is Ryan Chesley at number 37. After making a surprising trade and shipping out Vitek Vanecek to move up to the second round, the Washington Capitals didn't hesitate, taking defenseman Ryan Chesley at number 37. And as heard his name called and pulled the Capitals jersey over his head, he felt automatic relief and excitement. The 6-foot, 195-pound blue liner has last spoken to Washington at the 2022 NHL Combine and said he had a good conversation with the team. He left with a little bit of an idea that the Capitals would select him, but wasn't too sure. A really cool moment, Chesley said. I knew they liked me as a player and a person. I didn't exactly know what I was going to do, but I had a little idea, he revealed. This isn't a story in Washington hockey now. Chesley was among the top players remaining up for grabs. He was ranked number 18 among North American skater and is coming off a strong season that saw him dish 12 goals and 17 assists in 59 games with the U.S. National Team Development Program. He also got Elite Prospects votes for the best neutral zone defender, hardest hitter, and their third best defensive defenseman available. And, this is what the Washington Capitals are looking for. This is exactly what the Washington Capitals are looking for. They're looking for young players where they're getting younger and faster and a great defender. And if you take a look at him, I think that this fits really well into the Washington Capitals' plans. The right-hand shot plays a hard-hitting shutdown game, and he's not fun to play against in his own end. He is great at positioning and doesn't shy away from laying his body out, and he can also win puck battles in front and alongside the boards. He can also block shots, kill penalties, and pressure the opposition, which helps him break up plays and force forwards to the outside. So like I say, just a really great option. And I think that the Washington Capitals did do the right thing by pulling the trigger on Chesley here because, this would have been one of those top tier defenders that they passed up on. So good on the Capitals for doing this. I give them A++ marks on this. Offensively, he is a creative player who can start the breakout and make smart passes. He also possesses a good point shot and can work well on the power play. I would say I'm a two-way puck-moving defenseman who has ability to shut down any player at any time, Chesley said, adding that he models his game after the likes of Ryan McDonough, Jacob Slavin, and Charlie McAvoy. Wow, those are some really great players to look after. And then also he said John Carlson too. Actually, he did that with some prompting from some of the Washington Capitals beat writers. In 59 games the past season with the U.S. NTDB, he dished 12 goals and 17 assists along with an impressive plus-minus rating of plus 44. In addition to that, he played in 26 USHL games, picking up 5 goals and 10 assists. He also wore the A for the team in the USA U20 World Junior Championships and had 5 points in 6 games. So I think that this is just a really solid pickup. It's an awesome program, he said, that I'm really excited to get going with this season. Just take it year by year and see how things go, Chesley said. So to all the people out there that were wondering, and I heard quite a bit of different things on Twitter, why would the Washington Capitals trade Vitek Vanecek? Well, in order to get that draft pick, they had to trade with New Jersey, who had those drafts picks available to them. So they traded. It worked out for the Devils. They got Vanecek. The Capitals ended up getting Chesley in the process, and they got a top tier defenseman and just a really great pickup for the Washington Capitals. And I'm really thanking them that they ended up doing this because, like I've talked about at length here, the Capitals have to have their eyes on the future. And I think it looks a lot better with Chesley on the team. All right, so after the break here, I'm going to continue to talk about day number 2 and who the Washington Capitals picked up. But first, betonline.net is the number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all of the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's NHL playoffs and Major League Baseball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, including betting, esports, and scores. And if you guys want to make a game that much more interesting, say it's horse racing, say it's something that you're not that interested in, put some money on the game and see if it doesn't pique your interest. I've done it. It works for me, and BetOnline is a perfect way to do that. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check on all your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, welcome back to this edition of Locked On Capitals as we are breaking down the draft in this last second here and what the Washington Capitals did in day number 2 in their biggest move that they made. I know that Miro was the top draft pick in day number 1, but I am really excited about Ryan Chesley for the Washington Capitals. If you take a look at the report on The Athletic, this guy just doesn't like to rate guys that well. He rated him average in every regard. But I think that Chesley will be a great addition to this team. So the next one is Alexander Suzdalev. He is a left wing. He is 6'2" and 177 pounds. So Suzdalev is a Russian-born player of dual ancestry who came up playing in Sweden and suited up for the Sweden internationally this season, while also being a productive scorer in the Swedish Junior League. His skill and creativity are what will interest the NHL teams. He shows excellent puck skills to create offensive and unique ways. He is a strong passer, but his IQ shows up both in terms of vision and his overall creativity with the puck. The talent is highly intriguing, especially in a 6'2" frame, and his game can lack pace and effort, which he'll need to improve to have success versus the pros. But, again, we're getting a little bit further down the draft. That's number 70. I do think that, he's probably a ways out, but you never know. He might make a great addition to this team. The next one is Ludwig Persson. He is 6 foot, 178 pounds. So Persson was a highly productive player in Swedish's junior league this season and passes the SHL games over the past 2 seasons. 2 seasons for Frölunda. He played in a tournament for Sweden's U20 team this past season in April. He was a notable part of the U18 team in the 2021 season. He is a quite dangerous inside in an offensive zone. He's a highly skilled winger who can make crafty plays through defenders. He shows very good vision to make tough plays off the perimeter, and combined with a strong shot, he's able to run a power play. He is a great junior player, but given his average size and foot speed, there are questions on how his game translates to the pros. And, again, another raw talent in the Washington Capitals pipeline, a left wing. We'll see where he fits in. Maybe he's going to have to put some time in with the Stingrays. That's fine. These guys can, cook for a while. They don't necessarily have to get thrust into action right away. Well, that's kind of the way the Capitals would prefer it anyway, is to just kind of have them ready when they're ready. We don't want to just push these guys into action. The next guy is a center, Jake Carabella. He is 5'10", 172 pounds. Carabella was an important player for Guelph, who played all situations for them and was a big part of the power play. His skill is the thing that stands out most when you watch him. He has slick puck skills, showing great ability to control the puck under pressure and beat defenders with hands, despite not possessing great speed or reach inside the offensive zone. Due to his creativity, he can generate quite a few chances and moves the puck around well. He lacks size, but he works hard. The PK doesn't shy away from battles. His major issue for the NHL will be skating, as he lacks the ability to separate versus better players. So again, another raw talent, a center in the Washington Capitals organization. The next one on the list is Ryan Hofer, right wing. He is 6'3", 181 pounds. Ryan Hofer is a re-entry prospect with good size and compete and some skill, but whether the pure talent level is high enough for the NHL is the debate of the game. And now we're getting down to 181. So we are dealing with players that, are younger and they are going to take some time. We are not talking about a Miro. We're not talking about a Chesley. We are talking about some players that are probably quite a few years away from being ready for prime time. The last one here is David Gucciardi. He is 6'1", 185 pounds. Gucciardi has intriguing talent. He's a strong skater with a good skill level and has a hard point, 1-point shot. On his best shift, he can pop and make an impact. His decision making is questionable, though, and he needs work on the defensive side of the puck. Again, these were the thoughts of the Athletic as they went over that. So I'm giving you what their grade is and what my grade is on that. So just taking a look at that, of course, Miro and Chesley, those both get high marks with me. I think that they are probably a couple years away, from being ready for the big time. I think that between Miro and Chesley, I think that Chesley is probably the player that's going to make it on the Capitals first. I think that he is, the Capitals are in need of that young defenseman going forward. So I think that that he will be a good fit for the Washington Capitals. As we go down the list, as far as the other players that I listed earlier, those players are a ways out. So that's some raw talent. A lot of these players might not even end up playing for the Washington Capitals. They're prospects, at this point, they're draft picks. Some of them will, some of them won't. Some of them will move on to other teams. It just really kind of depends on what happens there. But all in all, I think the Washington Capitals did a good job. It's, a little upsetting that Vitek Vanecek is gone. It just kind of leaves a lot of question marks. But I ultimately think that the Washington Capitals do have something up their sleeve. Otherwise, I don't think they would have parted with Vitek Vanecek. And I know that I hear a lot of people say, well, you can't really say or talk to anyone before Wednesday. Well, there's some fine lines there, and there's some wink, wink, nod, nod that goes on there. Sometimes they talk to these players before, and they just get kind of a good gauge. You can also talk to their agents, and you can kind of talk to some other teams as far as interest is concerned there. So I do think that the Washington Capitals did an excellent job in the draft. And I think that going forward on Wednesday, they do need to solidify that number one netminder. Whoever that may be, it has to be an upgrade, but they do need to pick up someone because right now it's Samsonov is the only starter on the Washington Capitals organization. So you got to think that the Capitals have someone in mind as they go into Wednesday. So once again, thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals. Thank you for making Locked On Capitals your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On NHL. Locked On experts give you a daily 30-minute podcast on all things NHL all year long. Stay up to date on everything in the hockey world. Locked On NHL, your daily 30-minute NHL podcast. And once again, thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals. On tomorrow's show, we are going to talk a little bit more about what are the Washington Capitals going to do on Wednesday, July 13th. What is their greatest need? It's goaltending, of course, but are there other needs that the Washington Capitals have? We'll talk about that then. Once again, thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, and I'll talk to you next time.